Sally Ride, written by B. Silverberg. Introduction. Half a million people cheered when Sally Ride took off the Cape Canaveral, Florida. The Space Shuttle Challenger shot onto space on June 18, 1983. Charlie was the first American woman in space, and she was the youngest American astronaut, male or female, at age 32. Charlie and four other astronauts were snapped inside of the space shuttle. The shuttle was attached to a huge fuel tank. Two smaller rocket boosters were mounted onto the fuel tank. They had powered the shuttle onto space. The tank and the booster dropped into the ocean after they used up their fuels in 44 and 27 seconds. The Earth Challenger was circling the Earth. Sally was the flight engineer on the board. During the time in space, she and John Fabian, another scientist, worked on 40 experiments. They also tested a 15-meter, 50-feet robot arm. It was used to pick up broken satellites in space. The whole will return to Earth in 6 days. They had traveled 4 million kilometers, 2.5 million miles. Growing up, Shelley was born on May 26, 1951. 2 years later, her parents, Dale and Joyce Wright, had another daughter, Karen. Their family lived in Enrico, California. The planet, stars, and galaxies always fascinated Sally, yet she never thought about becoming an astronaut. When Sally was 9 in a row, she started to get an idea of how big the world was. In high school, she was very interested in science. Sally loved sport. She worked hard at tennis, often winning big matches. She went on to college and learned degrees in physics and made her doctorate Sally Ride. Her field was astrophysics, the study of stars and other bodies in space. Early astronaut training. One day, Charlie saw a recruiting NASA astronaut. NASA is short for National Aeronautics and Space Administration. NASA was looking for very best people to learn about space travel. Charlie was chosen for the 1978 NASA astronaut class. She was very proud. 2 women from the Soviet Union had already been in space. She wanted to be the first American woman in space. Learning to become an astronaut was hard work. Charlie had to learn to pilot a plane. She had to learn how to control and launch branches of the shuttle. She needed to learn how to operate computer systems and switches on the shuttle. As a flight engineer, she had to learn to use the shuttle robot arm to pick the satellites from space. Charlie in space. On Charlie's first ride in space, she sped along at 28,164 kilometers per hour. 70,500 miles per hour. The space shuttle circled the Earth rather than flying off into space because of the Earth's gravity. The shuttle speed was just fast enough to keep it from falling back to Earth. It circled about 322 kilometers, 200 miles above the Earth. Shari wrote a book about her space travel. She wrote that the best part of being in space was being weightless. She told how crew moved around by grabbing onto something on the wall to keep from floating away. When they were working on a machine, when they were strapped, most of the time they ate with spoon. They ate sticky food. They ate sticky food so that it wouldn't float away. They used straw to drink. They stored all the trash and brought it back to Earth. Astronauts took exciting pictures as they circled the Earth. These pictures have often seen the wonders that the astronauts saw. Sally wrote, "Through the small windows of Space Shuttle, I looked down to the Earth and saw the ocean and land that make up our planet. The view was spectacular." With these space photos, scientists learn more about the Earth. They use them to study how humans and other living things are changing the planet. The pictures are also used to learn about the layers of air surrounding the Earth. They returned to space aboard in the Challenger on October 5, 1984. This time there was another woman afterboard, Karen Sullivan. On that trip, Catherine was the first American woman to walk in space. Sally launched a wild satellite. The satellite would be used to find out if the air surrounding the Earth was getting warmer. NASA space travel. Many space shuttles were launched in 1983 and 1984. Justin Resnick, a classmate of Charlie, has been in space in August 1983. Many new experiments were complete. Some of the crew on the beds. The entire society seems safe and exciting. After so many successes, NASA decided that ordinary people could join the astronaut aboard a spaceship. The first one chosen was Krista McAuliffe. She was an elementary school teacher. She planning to give lessons about space as she circled the Earth. The Challenger was ready to launch on January 28, 1986. Its crew of 7 included Justin Tick and Krista McAuliffe. The world watched on TV. The Challenger's route onto space, but just over a minute after launch, there was trouble. The Challenger exploded. The sky filled with fire and a huge cloud of smoke. The shuttle and its crew were lost. Accident caused NASA to stop the space program for a while. They needed to make space travel safer. Sally as educator. After this terrible accident, Charlie Wright decided not to go to another shuttle trip. She kept working at NASA. Then she went working to teaching college science. Before her death in 1920, she also worked to teach young children about the wonder of space travel. She wrote the book and taught the classes interest the children in space. She continues to be a role model for girls who want to work in science. Shirley Rice was the first American woman to go to space. She helped teaching us the wonder of space. She showed that our dream can come true with courage and hard work.